this is not what the camera can do. No, these are the features. God damn. Good morning everyone, Gadget from Henry's here for another first look, and in this video we're going to talk about the Canon EOS R5 and EOS R6. There's been a lot of excitement about these cameras. I was excited, but there's also been a bit of skepticism because when you take a look at the specs on paper, well, it just doesn't seem real. So let's just get this started. The EOS R5, this camera is probably the big brother of the two, and quite noticeably so because this one packs 8K video recording. And I'm gonna talk about photography, but we gotta start with this. You can record up to 30 frames per second in 8K and in a 12-bit RAW format. And while most people are not shooting 8K footage and publishing 8K footage, this capability allows you to have more latitude for your production. When you're shooting in 8K, you can later crop in and punch in and grab exactly the composition that you're looking for. Or more interestingly enough, when capturing 8K, you can pull 35 megapixel stills from this footage. So imagine that, where you're capturing footage and you see something that would make for a great thumbnail or a great image. You can pull a 35 megapixel image from this movie clip. But it doesn't stop there because this camera, it can shoot up to 45 megapixels with its brand new sensor. And this sensor, well, this is the secret sauce. Because of its incredible readout speeds, that's what's allowing Canon to pull 8K footage from this camera. On top of this, you have an ISO that goes up to 51,200 natively. You can expand that as well, but realistically, you're probably not gonna, just to mitigate that noise. And when you're shooting video, you can go well over 25,000 with ISO. But not to be outdone, you also have the Canon EOS R6. This is a 20 megapixel sensor. It's actually the same sensor from the 1DX Mark III that just got released, albeit a little bit customized for this camera. And this one can shoot up to 4K at 60 frames per second. Now both cameras, they'll shoot up to 120 frames per second in a 4K mode. It's the high recording mode, so you're not going to capture audio here. And while it's not exactly the same quality, it's still pretty darn good. When I was testing this out, I was trying to see if there was some sort of catch here, if there was something that would almost cripple the usage of this camera. It's just not the case, at least not for my first day with this thing. I was using pre-production models, and I'll be honest, I want to spend more time with these files and with these cameras, especially the ones that are the final units, but at first glance, you're getting really compelling footage. Now, what's special about the R6 is not only is it more affordable, but this one is the low light beast. This one can shoot up to 102,400 native ISO, and you can even expand that to over 200,000. So if you're looking for something that you're going to be using in low light quite often and you don't need to go beyond 20 megapixels, especially if you're publishing to the web a lot, well, this thing still packs a ton for most users. Now, another thing that sets these two cameras apart is the cards that are being used, because the R5 will use a CF Express and an SD card. On the R6, you use two SD cards. Now, the fun doesn't stop there because both cameras pack a 5-axis image stabilization system in the body as well. And when you partner this with the optical image stabilization with the Canon lenses, the new RF lenses, you get some pretty amazing results. In fact, you get up to 8 stops of stabilization. I think this is a record for the industry with most of the RF lenses. Some of the lenses will do 7 stops, maybe one lens will do 6 stops, but again, most of them are going to give you 8 stops of compensation, meaning that in a lot of environments, you can drop down that shutter speed and be able to still grab a usable image. And of course, you can imagine using this in video as well, where you have this camera handheld. Of course, you probably want to throw this on a tripod or gimbal for the best, but being able to get up to 8 stops of stabilization handheld, that's still pretty phenomenal. Canon was not joking when they introduced the EOS R and they rethought how the components are gonna work for their mirrorless system, especially with respect to their lens mount. So having that wide lens mount just allows for easier management of light, giving you better stabilization results. And I'm really interested to see how this performs in more intensive environments, because in the day that I had with it, well, I was really impressed. Now let's move on to autofocus, because with these cameras you have the new dual pixel AF Mark II, version 2 of their famous dual pixel autofocus system, and this is quite crazy. You can focus as fast as 0.05 seconds, but that's not all. Along with head detection, eye detection, and face detection, you also have body, head, and eye detection for animals as well. Canon has put a ton of work into the deep learning system that they've built and allows you to capture humans and animals with a high degree of accuracy. So if you're tracking a subject, maybe in sports, for example, you can go between eye, face, and head quite seamlessly. And maybe there's a bird in the sky that you're going after, well, it can track the body or lock into the head or the eye as well. And really, this is just something that's gonna make the work a lot easier. The EOS R5 has 100% coverage across the sensor, vertical, horizontal, and nearly 6,000 points for autofocus that you can choose between. The R6 has a little over 6,000. Both of them have over 1,000 zones that you can select from. And using the smart controller on the back, it just means that you can pinpoint to exactly the place that you want in focus if you want fine-tuned control. Now let's go back to video. At this time, it is a bit limited in how you can get this video out and downloading it and processing it. A lot of the software that I was using is beta and it isn't the final product. So I really want to reserve my final judgment for a deep dive in the future. At first glance, there doesn't seem to be many limitations here. There is no crop like I mentioned before in the video modes. In the raw recording format of the R5, you can actually get 12-bit information, just allowing for more color depth for you to manage and get the exact look that you're looking for. Now, I'll save my final judgment for a deep dive, but it's still impressive to see that you can capture 8K uncropped footage for up to 20 minutes. And I should also add that you still had full autofocus control in all the video modes. Even if you were recording raw, you could still use the LCD to touch and focus and compose it to the way that you want to capture. And I gotta say, I was trying to find out, is there something that is a bit of an obstacle or a challenge for this camera that it just can't do? Well, in the day that I had, I couldn't find anything, but I'm sure someone out there is hard at work to try and break this thing and see what it can't do. But the list goes on. There's new shutters in these cameras that give it much more durability. You have weather and dust sealing on the R5 and the R6, and there's more. You can just do so much with these things. And I think more than anything, it just reminds me of that 5D Mark II. When I was speaking to Canon, this is something I was thinking about, but they mentioned it as well. But back in 2008, when that 5D Mark II came out and recording HD video, it was such a leap forward in camera technology and really shifted the market. And since that time, it was hard to see another product really impacting the industry in that capacity, maybe in small blips. But here you have quite a leap forward. So I'm interested to see what else this camera can do, and I want to get my hands on a final production unit to really push it to the limit. But Canon has gone ahead and raised the ceiling in a number of features, not just video, but photography as well. And when you're using this product, while it isn't as portable as some other mirrorless options, for the professionals, for the advanced enthusiasts, for the sports photographer, for the filmmakers, you have a ton of value packed into an ergonomic body that you're comfortable with using in the field to get work done. So while it might not be for everyone, Canon has gone ahead and changed the market for everyone. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you're interested in pre-ordering your camera, the links are in the description. But more importantly, I want to know what you guys think. So let me know what you think about the R5, the R6. Is there enough here to entice you to switch? Are you going to be upgrading, or are you still waiting for something else? Are you waiting for 10K? Come on now. Listen, I'd love to continue the conversation in the comments below. Again, my name's Gadgen. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.